Verse 636. When discrimination is seen, name and sense are to be disjoined. Then both knowledge and knower will be discarded, and one is released of the Samskrita. So when discrimination is seen, Professor Suzuki, the translator, has added in brackets, as to its true nature. But I think if we just appreciate that this is what's going on all the time, discrimination, it's really the attention in operation, the attention doing its thing, the attention going here, going there, the attention fueling our anxieties, fueling our mood patterns. This is what discrimination does. Whenever the attention is not at rest in itself, it's caught up in discrimination. As I mentioned now and again, I've been going through quite a difficult time. It's been going on for quite a while now. I'm in quite a bit of discomfort, physical discomfort. Basic stiffness and problems with moving my body. But it's not just that. It sometimes feels like my nervous system is in lockdown, and I find it very hard to engage or to plan anything or to do anything. It's like I'm emotionally frozen. And at times like this, I can't even think about practicing. That's not quite true. I do think about practicing, but I can't see any way back to what I once called the house of enlightenment. It's like I'm caught up in some kind of quiet rage, a quiet rage. A deep storm of sorts, a deep emotional storm. And I wonder what you think about this, because is this my responsibility? Am I somehow more responsible for this emotional lockdown than I am for the stiffness in my body? I see them as similar things. I don't have the wherewithal to alleviate the stiffness in my body, and I don't have the wherewithal to alleviate this emotional rage. Fortunately, there's some medication I can take. There's some medication I can take to alleviate my stiffness. I take some diclofenac. It takes a couple of hours to kick in, but it normally does the trick. And I can move around okay. And I take some cocodamol, that not for the pain, but it seems to calm this emotional rage. And then I get back to some sense of normality. I might even feel quite good for a while. So this is it. This is the point I'm trying to make. We're not always responsible for our own emotional meltdown. Emotions are part of the body, and we shouldn't suffer needlessly. If there's something that will help in terms of medication, then pursue that avenue. Because pain, both physical and emotional pain, sucks you in. It sucks the attention in. Having said all that though, although it's very difficult to do anything about emotional pain once you're in it, we do have some authority to prevent ourselves getting caught up in it in the first place. As I think I might have mentioned, I believe that my present condition is actually a manifestation of my basic psychological tendencies, my basic samskaras. The doctors still haven't been able to find anything wrong. I've been getting all sorts of tests, ultra scans, bone scans, CT scans, blood tests, x-rays, endoscopy, colonoscopy, and I'm going for something else called the mid-bowel exploration. And they haven't found anything, which hasn't surprised me. I actually think that what I'm going through is a result of my own Zen practice. It's part of a process. I might be wrong, but I'm getting all these tests courtesy of the British health system, for which I'm grateful. They're not at my instigation, they're at the instigation of my GP. So maybe they'll find something, I don't know. It doesn't look very likely. And as I said, these symptoms which are coming up, this inclination not to move, is very much part of my own sedentary nature. And this quiet rage, I believe it's something I might have inherited from my mother. So it's all stuff that's there and it's coming up to the surface and it's manifesting physically. And the point I was making is, although once in it, it's very difficult to do anything about it except just suffer the consequences and take some medication, it is possible to not fall into it. It's like teetering on a precipice. The habit energy just launches you into the precipice. But with some awareness, it is possible to step back. And in a way, this is what's being described here as seeing the discrimination. Seeing the tendencies for the attention to focus in certain directions, to focus on certain qualities. So when it's seen, we're told that name and sense are to be disjoined. It's normally name and form, but form is a very sort of visual thing. So here it's just name and sense. And I think we can understand this in terms of any of the senses, including the mental sense, the sense that senses thoughts. But we can also understand the word sense in terms of meaning, making sense. But this is a discriminating process, naming something and then giving it an identity. So for example, in terms of what I was saying about standing on a precipice, I might be feeling pretty awful, but then my attention will look to circumstances. Perhaps I'm a bit frustrated because I can't find something, and it'll just knock me right over the edge. And then I'll fuel it. I can't find this. Why can't I find it? You know, it's this sort of thing. It's like road rage. It's totally disproportionate. The emotional response is totally disproportionate to the catalyst. So we let go of that. We let go of that tendency to want to find a reason to fuel our mood patterns. Then both knowledge and knower will be discarded. and one is released of the Samskrita. This is when we step back. We step back into this spaciousness. It's a spaciousness of simple awareness. It's the capacity for everything that is going on. And as I mentioned in the previous video and before, there's acceptance. And this acceptance is the true meaning of lovingness. To accept is love. And to be free from the Samskrita, well, Samskrita means compounded things. It means the idea of a world made up of things. We come back to the realization that it's of the same nature as a dream. We don't need to be allowing it to fuel our anxieties, our fears, our worries, our concerns. There's often very little we can do. And if there's very little we can do, if there's nothing we can do about a situation, then it's not our responsibility. So we let go of it. And indeed, the world is not our responsibility. We have our directions for action, and we get on with that. We do what we can. And if we can't do anything, then we don't need to worry about it. So this is the way. Verse 637 tells us to abandon both name and sense. This is the way of all the Buddhas. Those who wish to get enlightened in any other way will not attain enlightenment for themselves nor for others. So we step back from this discriminating activity. We stop fueling our moods. We stop fueling the path that leads us into emotional lockdown. Even if we're feeling physical pain, if we can do something about it, do something about it. If we can't do anything about the pain, then do not fuel the story of being some kind of martyr to it. I notice how when I have to move, sometimes I make little self-sympathizing noises like ooh, ooh, and I have to move gingerly, stealthily even. I'm feeling the drama of being somebody in pain. And I've mentioned this kind of thing before, and sometimes people leave me sympathetic messages, which is very kind of you, but please don't. Please don't. It just fuels my story of somebody who's suffering. Just if you feel inclined to leave any message in relation to what I've said, just say, get a grip, Guru Gillis, or something like that. The last thing I need to be doing is taking myself seriously. I don't want any of you to be taking me seriously. I'm sure some of you are going through far worse, but you're not going to get any sympathy from me. We've all got our path to move along, and we just have to get on with it. But maybe we can have some stops along the way which help refresh us and give us support for the next stage of our journey. So let's just get on with this great adventure.